That's right, a man, a legend, a way of life. Learn it, love it, live it. Great to have you with us. Rush Limbaugh behind a golden EIB microphone. Just a review of the headlines on the polling data. And by the way, let me throw in, I imagine that many of you in the audience are Ben Carson supporters, and you're probably ecstatic and very happy. And I don't blame you, but if you think the establishment's going to be happy just because... And by the way, the establishment is going to tell themselves that Trump is finished now. I mean, they'll publicly say the opposite. But privately, among themselves, they're going to think that it's over now. They've been waiting for this moment since the day Trump announced. They've been waiting for any day that they can go beyond speculating when Trump is going to implode or peak or level off. Now we've got polling data in 3 different locations that shows Carson up in Iowa and up a little bit nationally. That's the New York Times CBS poll. And they have been anticipating this like most people anticipate Christmas morning. They just have been waiting. And they're going to think privately that this is it and mission accomplished. And they're going to be turning their attention to Carson. They're not going to ignore Trump. But now they've convinced themselves that it can happen, that Trump is fallible, that Trump can be damaged. They're going to give themselves a lot of credit for it, and their own media partners. And I'm talking about conservative and liberal media. I mean, there's a lot of conservative media opposed to Trump as well. And everybody is going to be patting themselves on the back and putting feathers in their caps. And the establishment is going to be looking at Carson, and I just want to prepare you, Carson supporters, for something I know to be true. Well, I don't know it to be true, but I mean, I know it. The establishment types who want Jeb Bush, and if they don't get Jeb, then they want, I guess it's Rubio they want, but they want their establishment candidate. They are going to tell themselves that it's going to be 10 times easier taking Ben Carson out than Donald Trump. They are going to believe that Carson's support, while it may be somewhat strong, and while it may have some depth, is highly localized. Iowa, where Carson has been. They're going to tell themselves that Carson's support is coming primarily from the religious right and the moral majority. Organizations that no longer exist, but the establishment hated them so much that in their own minds they're still out there. The old Southern pro-lifers. Ben's a Seventh-day Adventist, and so they're going to tell themselves that it's the fundamentalist Christian wing that's putting Carson on the top. They have made a mistake in assessing Trump's strength. Trump's strength has not predominantly come from conservatives. There are quite a few conservatives who have been supporting Trump, but Trump's support comes from a much broader base of the electorate. Moderates, independents, disaffected Democrats. And that's why early on some people were comparing the Trump coalition to the Reagan coalition, because Reagan also had what were called the Reagan Democrats, and they were largely blue-collar, disaffected Democrats who were fed up with Jimmy Carter and the entire economic situation brought about by Carter and his Democrat policies. And the genuine and angry opposition to Trump has been taken out by the establishment on the conservative wing, by their own base. The establishment has believed it's their base responsible for Trump. And they're, again, clearly a significant number of conservatives supporting Trump, but that's not the majority of his base's support. It'd be hard to identify a true majority as supports that broad-based. Carson's is more focused and is indeed more genuinely tied to what would be called the Republican base, the conservative base, that is tied to the I don't want to name it because it's name calling, but the religious and moral aspect or part of the party that's supporting Carson. And the point is that the establishment is going to think that getting rid of Carson is going to be easy compared to Trump. They look at Carson and they see somebody very low-key, not very excitable, not very passionate. They see his support as being highly localized. So they're looking at this poll today, or these series of polls, as literally great news. They see it as the end of Trump, or at least Trump's peak. Now, they don't see any of their own people rising. This is the one thing that they're missing. They don't see Bush gaining any ground despite all of his money. They don't see any of the other establishment candidates. I'll tell you, like I said yesterday, the guy lurking just beyond visibility, who is raising tons of money from a broad-based group of people, is Ted Cruz. I don't know if I would attach dark horse status or label to Cruz, but Cruz is positioned extraordinarily well for whatever transpires between now and November 1st, which again is like 97 days. 97 days, anything can happen. Anything can happen. Trump can regain the momentum. Who knows? He can continue to lose momentum, if in fact he is. Carson could, at any point, go a different direction. But the key to this is the establishment is going to think that they are making all of this happen. This is true of both establishments, Democrat and Republican. They do not think that you or anybody else in the public really makes up your own mind about anything. You're all the product of influence. You're either being influenced by me, you're either being influenced by Fox News, you're being influenced by, but you're never, ever thinking on your own. And since they believe that, they're going to believe that it was their outside influence and whatever they have been able to arrange in the media anti-Trump that has brought this about. They're not going to conclude, for example, that people on their own have tired of Trump. Now, they may say that in public because they'll want you to think that they have a lot of regard for you in this decision. When you make a decision or do something such as vote or respond to a poll in the way they want you, they will praise your intelligence to the end of the world. But secretly, they don't think you have any. Secretly, they don't think, and they don't, the proof of that is they don't trust you to elect the right people, to support the right causes. They don't trust the public on any of these things, which is why the moneyed people are the ones who are listened to. So the reason I'm making all of these various and disparate points is the establishment's going to shoot themselves in the foot over this. They're going to misanalyze it. They're going to get it wrong. Their media acolytes are going to be patting themselves on the back and once again missing why whatever is happening is happening. And that means their reaction to it is not going to be the best and the brightest. And they might, and I'm starting to see signs of this in the media, just that first soundbite I played for, they're already celebrating. We're not even in the third inning yet, and they're celebrating like the game's over. And that's always a death knell. So the thing for everybody to realize is that all of this is fluid, and none of it is predictable. And there probably isn't anybody who can tell you why any of this is happening right now. But the establishment and their media types are going to tell you they know exactly why all of this is happening. And, of course, every reason they give you is going to be a reason that will allow them to say, as we suggested 6 months ago, 6 weeks ago, yesterday, last week, whatever. They're going to position it so that they are the brains, the Svengalis, the experts, and it's all happening as they knew it would when they haven't slightest idea what's going to happen tomorrow. But they will take every occasion they can to try to influence the outcome of these events, and then when they get the outcome they want, run out, claim credit. Here's some of the headlines. Fox News, Iowa poll, Carson leads Trump by 14. Fox News is very happy about this. Ben Carson's taken a commanding double-digit lead in Iowa, according to the Monmouth University poll released yesterday. Shows Carson 32% among Hawkeye goers. Trump is at 18%. That's a huge, that's way beyond margin of error, 32 to 18. You want to hear the explanation for this? The explanation for this from the drive-bys. Well, you know, Hawkeye goers, Republican caucus attendees, really, really religious, really, really rigid conservative. They don't like big talkers and flamboyant people that draw attention to themselves. Like steady Eddie. Really? If that's the case, how come Trump was leading for so long among Republican Iowa caucus goers? No, there's more going on than just the mass supposition of what Republican caucus attendees want and don't want. Now, to put this in perspective, again, it's the Monmouth University survey released yesterday. Carson 32, Trump at 18. And that's a 14-point lead. That's Carson's biggest lead to date, obviously. Now, put this in perspective. According to the latest CBS News poll, Trump and Carson are tied in Iowa. Trump is way ahead in New Hampshire, 38-12. And in South Carolina, Trump is even further ahead at 40-23. Yet in a New York Times poll, Trump and Carson are even, Carson's a little bit ahead nationally, but in these early states, Trump is off the charts in the lead, New Hampshire, and in South Carolina, and the other states that are going to make up the SEC primary back when we get into March. In the Monmouth University poll, Carson leads Trump by 9 points among self-described very conservative voters and 21 points ahead of Trump among self-described somewhat conservative voters. So when you combine those two categories, you have Carson leading Trump by 30 points among those who call themselves conservative, either somewhat or very. So we are told in the Monmouth poll that these voters in Iowa see Dr. Carson vastly more conservative than Donald Trump. Neither of them are as conservative as Ted Cruz. And remember that is an important point to remember throughout this entire primary process, which is still in its early stages. The race in Iowa remains fluid, just 19% of potential caucus goers saying that they're actually completely decided on who they've supported. Only 19% are firm in who they support. So it's all very fluid. And on a side note, Mike Tyson just endorsed Trump. Trump just landed another heavyweight endorsement in a Monday interview with the Huffing and Puffington Post. The self-proclaimed baddest man on the planet, Mike Tyson, endorsed Trump, saying that he should be the president of the United States. A guy that came from where he came from, his dad was only able to loan him $1 million. Doing what he's doing in that field, construction and real estate, and now this is where he's at now. You know what that means? That doesn't mean he's a bad guy, that people don't know what they're doing. That means people are tired of what you're doing, and Trump is the guy. Mike Tyson, the latest Trumpster endorsement. Will be back and continue after this.